Goldstein, joined by Derek Jones, and today we're looking at Grubba 5. Grubba 5, half point per reception. I hope I pronounced that right. Grubba. Sounds right?
Yeah, like Grubhub. Grubba.
Half point per reception, Dynasty 12-teamer, and Jonah bought the show, so thank you to Jonah. We have a lot to get to here, Derek, but before we get started, we'd like to break the ice with leagues out there. And the way we're doing that this year is we're coming up with random subjects, and I'm using that subject as a keyword in a search for a famous quotation. I'm on quotationspage.com. They say they have over 28,000 quotations, and then we just sort of take 30 to 45 seconds to expertly break down the quotation. The subject could be about anything. It is my turn to come up with some random subject. Let's go with, well, I don't know if there, I was going to say hype. Do you think there's going to be a quote about hype?
What was the one I had yesterday? And there was like two quotes.
Yeah, you always give me the worst. What did you come up with? Motivation or something?
Yeah, something like that.
There are quotes about hype. Although I'm trying to find one that is actually a quote about hype. So there's quotes that are about like hyper. I guess we'll just have to go with a quote about that uses hyper and not hype. Oh, yeah. Well, fine, whatever. Tina Fey, classic quote. I'll be ready for it to happen, and that way it won't happen. It's a burden being able to control situations with my hyper vigilance, but it's my lot in life. That's from Bossy Pants. She wrote a book, right? Bossy Pants, that's her book? Or is that a show or a movie or something?
No, that's Tina Fey's book.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Bossy Pants. I'll be ready for it to happen, and that way it won't happen. It's a burden being able to control situations with my hypervigilance, but it's my lot in life. You know, I feel that way too, right? The second you are planning for something, that's when it doesn't happen. And when you don't plan for it, that's when it does happen.
Yes.
I'm sad that there's no quotes about hype, though.
Yeah, that's interesting. But you would think there might be, but nope.
No famous quotes. So we have a lot to get to here. 10 starters for this league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 kicker, 1 defense, and then 1 flex play on top of that. Jonah wrote in, said that they unanimously decided to add a super flex starting spot in 2023. 2023, the 2023-24 season. So yeah, I mean that's we would call that 2023. This is something that in my home Dynasty League, which started in 2002, we don't have a super flex spot, and it's been one of these things. It's like, should we add one? And it's really hard to do, especially if you have teams that trade quarterbacks, and then you're like, well, it's not really fair. So, you know, the fact that they did it a couple years out here at least, or maybe 2 or 3 years out here, that's smart. I mean, that's pretty much the way you have to do it.
Yeah, I would think so. I think that's okay.
So, Derek, you have an assignment for this show.
No.
A bunch of these teams have official Twitter pages for their fantasy team, and I helpfully was given links to all of them. So your job as we go through is to look at the Twitter page and either find something, like find a tweet that you like or something about it, or just comment on what's going on. Sound good?
I'm in there. I'm already on the first one.
Okay. There are 4 divisions. One of my guilty pleasures is divisions in fantasy football leagues. I love divisions. 12-team league, 4 divisions. Perfect. I love it. I love having that, and we'll talk about it because there's one division in here that is not good compared to the other ones. I love being in that awful division and everyone else is just hating you because they're seething with anger because you're in the easy division. That's the best. So here's how it's going to work. We're going to count down 12, 2, 1. We're going to talk about the total redraft value, the starter redraft value, the dynasty value of each team. the Rate My League staff value for each team, which actually has a small, minuscule role in the overall ranking, but it has a role, so we'll talk about that. And future draft capital. And all that gets boiled down into a team score, which is out of 10. That's how we rank the squads. And then from there, we have other stuff we can talk about. Doesn't necessarily impact the rankings, but is fun nonetheless. Trades. We got plenty of trades. In fact, Derek, there are 3 team trades in this league. So last year, I think it was last year, Sleeper introduced the 3 team trades. And I didn't have it built into my little tool here that it would
why would you
that it would show 3 team trades, but I did fix that for this season, so now we can successfully talk about the 3 team trades. Derek hates trades. He's against fun, doesn't like fun, so he's going to be all bitter about 3 team trades. I think it's great. I think it's hilarious
because most people are criminal when they handle these trades. They're shysters. You're either a schemer or you're a teacher. There are a whole lot of schemers in fantasy football.
And then the 2021 draft, we'll talk about that too. And helmet stickers are kind of like achievements or awards or badges. You get them for doing something good or bad or neutral. But if it's neutral, it better damn well be fun. With that, Derek, we should get moving here. Number 12. I love the team names, and I think most of the teams are named after sort of, I don't know, like Americana food items, although there are other countries interspersed with, I don't know. Anyway, Yugoslavia, Sloppy Joes, from the Beans division, number 3 in the Beans division. Number 12 roster, the last ranked roster for both total redraft value and starter redraft value. And yeah, they do gain some dynasty value thanks to Judy and Elijah Moore and Justin Fields. Fields they picked up at 1.11. It'll be very interesting to see where the quarterbacks start to go in these rookie drafts, with the Superflex coming not this year, but in 2023. It'll be very interesting to see where the quarterbacks land. So we'll follow that along. In this case, Justin Fields at 1.11, and then Rondale Moore at 2.02. Those guys gaining dynasty value. Unfortunately, still number 12. Still dead last in dynasty value based on the roster here. Look, this is a young team, and you can argue that they're on the upswing even with just the roster that's currently constructed. You look at Fields, you look at Jerry Jeudy, Darnell Mooney. Like, there's a bunch of guys here, Noah Fant, who are going to gain value. A.J. Dillon. Like, a lot of these guys are going to gain value over the years, but number 11 at running back, number 12 at wide receiver. 2021 is going to be a rough year for the old win-loss record.
Yeah. By the way, what are your thoughts on Sloppy Joes?
Overrated. I don't like them that much.
Interesting.
Here's my thing. It's not about the flavor. I'm a very fastidious eater. I don't like messy foods.
Yeah.
And I know sloppy joes don't have to be the sloppiest. I mean, some really are, but no, I don't like wings. I don't like sloppy joe. I don't like ribs.
Well, that's my dinner tonight. Wings. How dare you?
I just, if my hands get messy, I'm out.
Yeah. No. I hear you. I understand. So, that's probably a good transition to this roster.
It's sloppy.
Because it is a little bit sloppy in terms of the build, with Jerry Jeudy as the number 1 receiver, and you touched on a lot of the key points. Look, I think in certain respects this team is trying to get something done long term. We'll see how they shake out, but right now, I mean, this team is not ready for prime time. And again, a lot of trades, maybe too many trades, too worried about, looking cool and all that. Mm-hmm. But, a 2024 one, okay, fine. You get that with Jerry Jeudy. That's fine. But you trade like the Hopkins deal.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
So they gave up DeAndre Hopkins, Javian Hawkins, who's one of those, was he undrafted or a late rookie? Like, that Atlanta has Mike Davis, but there's also a chance that one of those guys is like the new James Robinson, right? But they got back Jeudy, 24-1 and a 24, two 24-1s. I love I don't mind. This team is hurt a little bit because we don't track the 24 ones coming back. We only track 2 years out. And it should be noted, the manager of this team is probably like, why aren't they talking about my future draft capital? Here. Like, okay, we get it. Number 1 in future draft capital here. This is the team that's set up for the long term. They have 4 2022 firsts. They have 4 2023 firsts. This team is going to be rocking the draft the next couple of years, so that's good. Also should mention, this team went 10-3 last year. So this roster, as it was really damn good. One of the better teams in the league has voluntarily decided to go for the tank this season. Trading Aaron Jones, trading DeAndre Hopkins, trading Amari Cooper. Those are the guys that carry you to wins, and obviously James Robinson last year as well. Those guys carried you to 10 wins last season, but going for that voluntary teardown with the future draft capital now the best in the league, and that's underselling it because the 24 first would make it even more extreme. This is how you do it. This is a rebuild. This is a tank. This is a trust the process. This is a productive struggle.
Yes, it is. It's funny. You gave me a homework assignment, and that's to look at the Twitter of these teams and their graphics. They have graphics for trades.
They do. Does that make you like trades better?
No, it's it is unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than we see in other leagues. I'll tell you that. But there is a YouTube video that has been posted on Hugo Sloppy Joe's page, and it is a off-season overview.
All right, you've gone too long. That's fine.
I get it. What is this?
Just turn it off. That's fine. There's a YouTube video. 3.32 is the team score. The helmet stickers here could have been somebody starting A.J. Dillon. The Pack Rat sticker, most draft capital. The Mosquito Sucks sticker, team the rate my league staff is most unanimous on. The Grounded sticker, worst rated wide receiver position, but we got to play this one. I have sound bites to play myself, so we'll do it. The You Should Be Sad sticker.
Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone, and if you watch 7 hours of commercial-free football, you know I like to keep it upbeat. I love touchdowns. I love wins. I love excellence. And your team is the opposite of that. In fact, your team's kind of hot garbage. It's the worst, and you should feel sad.
Yeah, that's right. We got Scott Hansen to personally insult Yugoslavia's Sloppy Joes. Take that to the bank. Number 11, Waddle football team. So I believe this is originally... This video
is weird, by the way.
I believe originally this is a Weddle football team, but because they drafted Jalen Waddle at 1.08, it's been changed to Waddle football team. I wonder if they took Waddle specifically because the team name was close to Waddle. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that's probably the case.
From the creams division, I don't know what's a cream. Is that like the drink? Is that a drink of some kind? Like what do they call them? Like what do they call this? It's a slide. Is that what the drinks are? Like a slide. Anyway,
cream. Yeah, I'll look that up.
Number 11 roster, number 11 in total and starter value. It is a prime age team. 27.4 is the average starter age here. They do maintain their dynasty value. The big news here, I think, for this team really is the 2021 draft. They had 3 first-round picks, including 1.01, which ended up being Najee Harris, 1.03, which ended up being Kyle Pitts, and then Jalen Waddle at 1.08. Derek, what jumps out at me, and I mentioned it with the last franchise, taking Justin Fields at 1.11, you have 3 picks in the first round, you got Patrick Mahomes, but you know the Superflex is coming in 2023. Are you interested at all in any of these selections of taking one of those quarterbacks? I mean, they could have had Lawrence at 1.01. They could have had Fields at 1.08. We'll see where the other quarterbacks shake out. But they had options at every pick to take a quarterback. Matt Stafford, by 2023, you have to assume is not going to be the most viable fantasy option. They did pick up Kyle Trask in the early 4th round, but that is not the same thing as taking a Fields or a Lance or a Lawrence. So what are your thoughts there?
Well, it's interesting. Trask, he might. There's an outside chance he might get on the field in 2023. So, and I don't know if they're even thinking about that, but I mean, we'll see. But to your point, yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity for sure.
But it also begs the question of, like, what do you think your franchise is? Because this team went 1-12 last year, and taking Najee Harris at 1.01 in a non-superflex league is very chalk. Like, that makes a lot of sense in a one quarterback league. But in superflex leagues, Najee Harris's ADP is more like 4. So
yeah.
I don't know what this team thinks they are, but that's a move that would say, like, they think they're more of a contender, although, the future draft capital's number 2 and they went 1-12 last year. So it's hard to see, after trading DeAndre Swift for draft capital, how this team actually thinks they'd be a contender.
Well, it's hard, right? Like, you're looking at, if I take a quarterback here with one of those first 2 picks, then that's just more guys that's just another guy who's not playing right now. And I don't know that they're thinking about 2023. Now, should they be? Probably. But they're not. And you can tell, because they obviously didn't want to go in to the year potentially with Raheem Mostert and Darrell Henderson as their top 2 running backs, which I get.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're still number 10 in running back value, number 10 in wide receiver value. I mean, the counterpoint is that this team ain't competing this year, and if they're able to compete next year, that would be a little surprising. I mean, there's a chance if Najee Harris hits in a big way, and Jalen Waddle hits in a big way, and maybe Devontae Parker or someone else that they pick up could potentially be a big time player. Like, okay, fine, there's an outside shot, but if I'm in Waddle football team's shoes, I'm taking a quarterback with one of those picks. I just am.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I think you have to consider it at 101. I can see maybe, okay, I don't want to take Lawrence there because then I'm just sitting on him for a couple years, and even still, you could probably have taken him. 3, again, I mean, that's hard. At 8, definitely you should have probably looked at one of those guys. If you really didn't want to go with Lawrence or Wilson or even Fields in that by that 3rd pick. So,
well, and then Fields was there at 8. And they skipped.
Yeah, and that's where it could get tough, because Waddle's going to have a tough rookie year, I think, because of Tua. So yeah. I don't.
Yeah. Anything about this Twitter page that you like?
Well, they are using the logo copyright infringement of the Washington football team.
I think that's okay for personal use.
They need to tweet more. There have been 2 tweets since January 2nd.
Wow. Do you think the tweet, what do you call it? Proclivity or whatever? Like, do you think the number of tweets corresponds to how good the team is?
Yeah. There are not a lot of tweets. Therefore, they stink.
Team score 4.49. Helmet stickers. The Rook sticker, most rookie starters. And they do get the quarterback's fine sticker. He's coming over for the night. Quarterbacks. For the top-rated quarterback position, of course, if you have Patrick Mahomes, that's a pretty good start. But when we get to the Superflex era, watch out. Other teams are going to start passing you, especially if Matt Stafford is your answer. I will say, we touched on it a little bit. They do have 2 2022 firsts as well. So right. The next year's draft is looking pretty good for quarterbacks, and the 2023 draft as well. They have 2 picks, and that's looking like a good year overall for fantasy. So it should at least be noted that this team will have more opportunities to get a quarterback before they do make that switch. However, I still think I would have gone with the quarterback there. I would have gotten a jump considering the makeup of the team currently. Number 10, MILF Patrolman Jake.
Oh my God. Am I allowed to click on this Twitter link?
I don't think there is one. Are you seeing a Twitter link?
No, I am not. Well, that's fitting.
from the Beans division, the number 2 team now from the Beans division. I don't know what MILF means. Do you know what MILF means? I've never heard that.
Oh,
term.
don't start that crap with me. Don't start. Oh, I don't know what it means. You damn well know what it means.
Number 8 in total redraft value, plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Number 8 in starter value. Young team here, 25.7 is your average starter age. However, they do not gain dynasty value. They pretty much maintain their dynasty value. They actually fall from number 8 to number 9 in the dynasty ranking here. And not really a draft capital team either. Number 9 in future draft capital with no 2022 first, no 2022 second. This is also, unfortunately, the Deshaun Watson team. So that's a big old bummer. At least, so multiple things to talk about here. First of all, this team did go 8-5 last year, so they did have a winning record. A lot of that was probably on the back of Deshaun Watson, who was excellent last year, and no more Deshaun Watson this year. And you're hoping against hope he's coming back by 2022. That said, Derek, I feel like the first 2 teams we looked at were in bad shape. But at least there was a plan. There was something of a plan going on with those teams. They had the future draft capital. They had something going for them. The roster that's currently constructed for this team is not nearly as bad as the first 2 teams we've looked at. You know, you look at even the running back position with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Chris Carson and Ronald Jones. Like, that's okay for running backs. They're number 8 there. And they're league average at wide receiver with Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and now Devontae Smith. Filling in the number 3 role at wide receiver. Unfortunately, or despite all that, the overall situation just seems chaotic. There's no future draft capital here. They didn't have a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick this year. They picked up Devontae Smith at 1.07, which is fine, but is that moving the needle? I don't know. I think in my heart of hearts, I have more concerns about MILF Patrolman Jake than I do about the first 2 teams we looked at.
That's interesting because they're not totally devoid of talent.
No, they're not. They have some players here. But the goal is always to win a title, right?
Right.
If I remembered how fantasy football works, you want to win a title, not just finish 8th.
Right.
And I don't know what gets this team over the hump. And yes, they did go 8-5 last year, so I guess they were better than 8th last year. But now without Deshaun Watson, even with Watson, they're topping out at that, like, okay, pretty good, but not elite category. Right. I don't see how they get there.
Well, you look at the backfield, and those guys all have a little history getting banged up. So, you know, Edwards-Helaire got hurt late in the year last year. Chris Carson is perennially injured. And Ronald Jones has been banged up as well. And I think, you know, if you don't have exceptional running back groups, I think it's going to be a battle week in and week out to get production. I think that's a definite thing. So you look at quarterback, that's an issue. Running back, good on paper, but could be an issue. And then wide receiver, a lot of that's going to come down to what happens in Green Bay. I mean, if Devontae Adams is catching balls from Jordan Love, that could be a tough situation at receiver.
And to add insult to injury, this Cole Kmet trade really bums me out in a big way. One of the reasons this team is number 9 in future draft capital, they gave up a 2022 first along with Cole Kmet to pick up Mike Gesicki and a 2022 third. So they fell back 2 rounds to go from Cole Kmet to Mike Gesicki. I mean, the reports coming out of Chicago are very positive for Cole Kmet, first of all. Second of all, what is Mike Gesicki? I mean, he's a borderline starting tight end. What's his ceiling? I mean, his ceiling is borderline starting tight end. I think the next broken tackle he has will be his first in the NFL.
Ooh, burn. I've not heard Mike Gesicki slander on this podcast yet.
All he does is catch the ball and then fall down. I don't want that kind of tight end.
Well, yeah, if that's the case, he's going to top out probably around 7 or 8.
Especially with Tua, who can only throw 4 yards down the field. So
yeah, that's problematic for Mr. Gesicki's production.
This team also acquired Logan Thomas. It's just such a weird makeup. They went real hard at tight end. They already had Dallas Goedert. They acquired Logan Thomas. They acquired Mike. They gave up assets to get Mike Gesicki when I'd much rather have Dallas Goedert and Cole Kmet. I don't get that situation at all. I mean, they gave up all that, and Mike Gesicki is right now number 3 on their roster in tight end value. What is the point of that?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Sometimes people trade just to trade.
It's not even tight end premium. If it was tight end premium, I would at least give them some nod for that. But no. All right, I'm done. I can't talk about this anymore.
Bad idea.
Between Watson and Gesicki, I'm ticked off with this team. 4.55 is the team score. Helmet stickers here. The Slim Reaper starting Devontae Smith and the Garo Yepremian worst rated quarterback position. Number 9, Belfast Money Movers, Crops Division. Number 3 in the Crops Division. Number 9 in total redraft value. Number 10 in starter redraft value. We have a young team here, Derek. The average starter age is 25.9. And unfortunately, they just maintain dynasty value here. So we haven't really seen a team that makes a real big move in dynasty value yet. Kind of interesting. You know, Jamar Chase gains for sure. And Trey Sermon gains a little bit of dynasty value, but they also have players that offset that. Melvin Gordon, Odell Beckham, David Montgomery, all losing dynasty value. So just interesting. We haven't seen that team that's really just super young, tons of early draft picks over the last 2 years, and is just ready to explode onto the scene. Maybe we'll get there, but we haven't seen it yet. No position from this squad is in the top 7 in the rankings. Number 8 at quarterback, number 9 at running back, number 8 at wide receiver, and dead last, number 12 at tight end. I don't know where to start here. They went 4-9 last year and decided, hey, we don't need Saquon Barkley. We're going to trade Saquon. So they gave up Saquon and basically turned Saquon into Miles Sanders and David Montgomery. I mean, that's ultimately what happened because they got Sanders and 2 firsts for Saquon and then used 2 firsts to get Montgomery. So more or less, they traded Saquon for Miles Sanders and David Montgomery.
An outlandish trade.
I mean, on paper, the Saquon trade itself, getting the 2 firsts plus Sanders is okay. Probably like about even value. But yeah, trading the 2 firsts for David Montgomery, and yes, they did get a 2023 second out of that. That's probably a loss. I mean, especially for a team like this what is David Montgomery really going to do for you? You know, that's the kind of situation where the 2 draft picks for this team probably have way more value.
Man, you really despise David Montgomery.
Well, I'm not even saying that. Yeah, I mean, I hate David Montgomery. He's a bum and all that. But, like, beyond that, if this was a contender and they were, like, Montgomery was the last puzzle piece, okay, fine. He's like a weak second starter. Fine. If that's all it takes to make you, like, truly whole as a contender, then go for it. But this is not the situation here.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate that they moved those picks for Montgomery. That was, I don't know. I feel like that was unnecessary to do.
Yeah, and it's the number 9 running back group. So it's not like they got Montgomery and now they're just some stud-laden running back group that you can just run the table with. It's meh. I don't know. I feel like I'm angry. That last team made me angry.
You are mad. You are mad.
I do like Jamar Chase at 4. I think that's good value. Again, you know, this team probably less so than the other teams we've looked at. You know, they have Baker Mayfield, they have Jalen Hurts, and they have Matt Ryan. So they're set up okay for the eventual change to Superflex. You hoping against hope, I guess, that Jalen Hurts remains the starter long term for the Eagles. But he's quarterback 10 and very young. So you have to, I think it's fair to anticipate that he remains the starter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel what you're putting down there. I am scouting the Twitter profile.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing here too crazy. They retweeted George Kittle. It's nice. Barbecue chicken.
It'd be better if they had George Kittle, especially for the last ranked tight end team to retweet George Kittle. I don't know if
yeah.
I don't know if they deserve that.
Yeah. But the Belfast Money Movers account, like this is it's good. It's decent.
It should also be noted that Derek has multiple burner Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
So
Good luck finding one.
He's a good judge of tweeting, I suppose.
Yeah, not nothing spectacular about these guys.
All of them, or just this team?
Just this team. I should refrain. I can't rip anyone else's Twitter. I haven't seen it yet.
4.72 is the team score here. The helmet sticker, the scarcity sticker, worst rated tight end position. Number 8, Nathan Duncan's Weenies from the Derek, the Beans division. The poor, the poor Beans division. Already, all 3 of the Beans teams have been ranked now the weakest division in the league by far. That's where I'd want to be. I definitely want to be one of the Beans teams, I'm pretty sure. Number 10 in total value. Number 9 in starter value. Now, this is a young team that does gain some dynasty value here, thanks to Javonte Williams, T. Higgins, and Michael Carter. Another team that went through quite a bit of metamorphosis since last year. Another team that did pretty well in the record last year in the win-loss column, 8-5. 110 points per game. Got a little lucky. The points per game weren't sparkling, but the 8-5 record is nice. But decided to make some, I guess you could say, more win now moves, right? They acquired DeAndre Hopkins. This is where DeAndre Hopkins ended up. They acquired George Kittle. They acquired and then sent off Mike Gesicki. And Javonte Williams is another player that they traded for. So to me, those moves suggest a win now approach to the season.
Well, yeah, you take a look at the roster, and yeah, I mean, there's some elements that scream win now for sure. But I do think they are trying to build this thing. I don't think they're trying to cheat the code too much.
Well, running back is a major issue. They did trade away Ezekiel Elliott. That would have helped the running back group. They traded away Darren Waller too, but they had Kittle and now and Waller, so that makes sense. And they traded away Jerry Jeudy, so they definitely traded away some talent in those deals. And the big one was Zeke, because now it's the number 12 last ranked running back group with the rookies, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, and then behind Michael Carter, nothing.
But the abyss.
And no knees Gurley.
Still unable to find a job in the NFL.
Keenan Allen. They traded away Keenan Allen as well. So definitely a lot of talent. You can see why this team was able to win some games last year, but another team that decided to sort of, this is less of a true tank, right? You can't say they're tanking because they have George Kittle and DeAndre Hopkins, and it's not the same exact situation, but it's a little disjointed because they did make some moves that feel more win later-ish while acquiring Kittle and Hopkins. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure they know either, and that's really a part of the problem. You know, you look at the running backs, not much doing there. Wide receiver, it's Hopkins and friends. I mean, I trust Ayuk a little bit, but it's just such a hard group to win with over a consistent basis.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to these running backs, and if they can turn into anything this year, then maybe they have an outside shot at being a 500 team or maybe even a playoff team. But boy, they need Carter and Williams to be special right out of the gate.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, if you take a look at the pressure that those guys are on, I mean, that's the team. Those two guys have got to perform because, God forbid, Hopkins doesn't come out of the gate strong. This could be a big time issue for this team.
Super flex wise, I think they'd be set up okay. Justin Herbert is obviously a lead dog, and then Derek Carr will probably be exactly the same by 2023. He'll be starting. He'll be quarterback 24. Everyone will be saying, you'll see the no more excuses for Derek Carr articles coming out. It would be great. But then Jordan Love is here too, and there's a decent chance he'll get a stab at the starting slot by that point. Anything else? I don't know. I'm kind of left cold by this team.
You know what I'm not left cold by? Nathan Duncan's Weenies Twitter page.
Okay. Before you get to that, I should also say they are number 3 in future draft capital. They have 2022 first here. They have 2022 seconds. So, unfortunately, I think they are missing their 2023 first, which is one of the reasons they're sort of held back. But next year's future draft capital looks pretty good.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you take a look at kind of what this team does have to offer, I think long term, you do have to wonder. And again, with all the wheeling and dealing, you've got to be careful of trading yourselves out of positive situations, and that's what I'm afraid this team might be doing. You know, I get it. Zeke is older, okay. That's fine, but try to get something more than Gesicki. And I would have liked a player that's better than Gesicki and a 1 in 2024.
Yeah.
Because who knows? I mean, 2024 is so. I mean, we might all be like, toast in 2024. I mean, what do we after last year? Did we not learn to strike while the iron is hot, my friend?
So in your world, the pandemic hits, and your first thought is, or at least one of your eventual thoughts is, trading in fantasy football doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it makes less sense now. It makes less sense.
Right.
Stop worrying about the future. Worry about the right now. Well, not stop worrying about the future, but like, don't worry about 3 years from now. Worry about like maybe next year. And then,
you like the Twitter page though?
Yes, the Twitter page has Justin Herbert in a Weenies helmet and uniform as its cover page, and there's a Nathan Duncan's mix. Oh, this has been outlawed by the NFL. How about that? There's a Nathan Duncan's Weenies mixtape, and the NFL found it.
Oh, that's good. 5.19 is the team score here. Just one helmet sticker. The Glenn Coffee sticker, worst rated running back position. Number 7, the Jerusalem Disciples. The Jerusalem Disciples from the Buicks? Bucks? Did I write that down wrong?
Buicks?
Is it Buicks or Bucks? Oh, it is Buicks. All right. From the Buicks division, number 3 in the Buicks division here. Number 6 in total value, number 7 in starter value for redraft. It's a late prime team. They kind of maintain their dynasty value. They stay at number 6 for that. 2-11 last year, so coming off of a really, really rough season, but has this is a team that's definitely made some consistent win now type of moves. They acquired DeAndre Swift. They acquired Keenan Allen. They acquired Brandon Cooks. So that's a bunch of moves where they're acquiring guys who are trying to move the needle for this team. And I think, if nothing else, you have to say that they have pretty great potential at running back right now. Technically, number 5 in the running back countdown for the running back rankings for the league. But with Cam Akers and DeAndre Swift and even Harris there as well, Damian Harris, of course. I blanked on his first name. Damian Harris. Those 3 guys have upward mobility written all over them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's that's what you want. You want to be able to have something that you can grow with on a roster. And if you don't, I mean, that's where some of these teams are going to run into trouble that we've already reviewed. They're not. One of the guys I work with said, if you're not growing, you're dying, and that's what you're fighting against in fantasy football. If you're not growing, you're dying on fantasy football.
It's deep. It's very deep. This is the first roster that we've looked at, Derek, that the playoffs seem like a legitimate hope, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it would probably take those running backs really clicking, especially Akers, Swift, and Harris outperforming their consensus rankings. It's not something I would necessarily predict, especially if there's only 4 playoff teams. I'm not sure how many there are. But if there's only 4, then it would be tough. If there's 6, then they're right on the cusp of that. There's definitely issues here. Number 9 at wide receiver is far from elite. And then when you factor in the age at wide receiver now with Keenan Allen and Kenny Golladay, Keenan Allen's going to be 29. Kenny Galladay's 28. Again, not old. Cooks is 28 too. Not super old, but guys who definitely are maybe late prime or on the downswing. I mean, at this point, I feel like Kenny Galladay's on the downswing of his career. So I do worry a little bit about the long-term wide receiver situation. But that said, again, there's an outside shot, especially for a team that went 2-11 last year. They're in okay shape for 2021.
Yeah, I would say so. They can compete a little bit. I think they're definitely going to have some guys who can make some plays. That's good. At the running back spot, as you kind of talked about already. And then quarterback is very interesting with Brady and Lawrence and Wentz. So you should have a pretty good mix there.
Yeah, and touching, sorry to interrupt, but just touching on the quarterback where quarterbacks went in this draft, Lawrence at 1.10, and then they picked up Zach Wilson at 2.05. I think I'm a little surprised that the league didn't value quarterbacks more. With Superflex coming in 2023, I think Lawrence should have gone top 5-ish, top 6-ish. And then I think the other, Fields and Lance should have gone not too far behind. So the fact that they were able to get Lawrence at 1.10 and Wilson at 2.05, I think that's going to look real good in a couple of years.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're on the right track, I think.
Anything else you want to talk about here?
Not too much. I think that when you take a look at the overall mix here of the team, this is not a 2-11 roster at the moment.
No, I mean they definitely improved. Yeah.
Yes, the pinned tweet on the Jerusalem Disciples page is Trevor Lawrence as Jesus.
That's a win. 5.47. The helmet stickers here, the Tom Brady Memorial oldest projected starting lineup. Tom Brady does not help that because they have Brady and he is 48 years old or something. But when Superflex does start up, you have Lawrence and maybe potentially Zach Wilson at that point. The average starter age is going to go way down. And I have to say, 27.5 is relatively young. That might be one of the oldest teams that we've seen so far, if that makes any sense. The customer's always wrong. This Rate My League staff. You and I, Derek, hate this team. Sorry. Mostly me. I really hate this team. Sorry. The Pineapple on Pizza. This is the team the Rate My League staff is most divided on. I'm always right, so just go with my ranking there. And finally, I'll play this one, the Tapped Out sticker.
Come on, Daniel! Come on, Daniel! Tap out Batista! Tap out Batista! Tap out Batista! No way! Batista's gonna tap! Batista's gonna tap! He did it!
Some wrestling thing. What are the chances more than half of this league are wrestling fans?
I'm gonna say under 50%.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought between the divisions and the Twitter pages, I feel like wrestling fans are here. I feel it in my bones.
I don't know. Although you guys keep getting outlawed by the NFL. There's another mixtape page that has been confiscated by the National Football League.
Number 6,
And tweet more, Jerusalem Disciples.
Yeah, come on. What is this? A non-tweet league? Number 6, LeWills from the Crops Division. Number 2 in the Crops Division. Number 7 in total redraft value. Number 6 in starter redraft value. This is a prime age team, but they do stay at number 7 for Dynasty. Number 7 in the team Dynasty rankings here. I think this is a very interesting team, and with the overall talent on the roster, they are number 5 at quarterback, number 4 at running back, and yes, number 1 with Travis Kelce at tight end. The one position I didn't mention, Derek, is wide receiver, where they are number 11. And I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say if wide receiver hits, which is a tall order, but if it does, if wide receiver hits somehow and is like top 5 or top 6, this could be an outside dark horse title contender because they got pretty much everything else you could possibly want. Stud at quarterback with Kyler Murray, potential 2 studs with Kamara and Jones at running back, and we'll see what Etienne can do. Their 1.02 draft pick, and then Travis Kelce at tight end. They are a respectable wide receiver group away from being a contender.
Yeah, they don't need a lot. And maybe one of their star players gets hot at one of the running backs. Maybe they can flip one of those running backs into a respectable wide receiver. That's a possibility as well. But
yeah, just wait for Tevin Coleman to be the starter in week 1 and then trade him.
Yeah, well, it does help them that they have Kelsey, so that should clean up some of the mess. But they're really going to need help at the receiver spot.
This team actually traded away George Kittle, so they must have had Kittle and Kelsey, which is kind of crazy. That's how they got Aaron Jones. Traded away Kittle and a 2022 first rounder for Jones. It's a bold move. I don't hate it. I feel like I've always liked Aaron Jones more than consensus, so even running back 9 feels a little light to me. I think he could be top 5, top 6 again as long as Rodgers is playing. But that's an interesting deal nonetheless. And then future draft capital here, they are actually number 8, so they're missing their 2022 first. That's never great. I mean, you don't want to be missing first-round picks. That's always a little bit of a bummer. I think the one of the things I would say about this franchise is they need something extraordinary to happen at wide receiver, and let's assume that doesn't happen. How does this team go from, that sort of, yes, a playoff-y type of franchise to an elite, top-of-the-line title favorite?
Well, it's going to be tough doing it through drafts because their draft capital is not great. They only have a number 1 in 2023 moving forward, so that's a little scary. I think you need the combination of Claypool and Pittman to step up, more so Claypool because he has shown you the ability to put together some really huge games. So he's going to have to be a big part of it. And they're going to need to hit on either Pittman or somebody else in this receiving core because you're probably not going to be able to draft a reasonably good receiver the next year. I mean, you have only a 2 and a 3 in next year's draft, so that's going to make things harder.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And then watch out when Superflex starts because right now Sam Darnold is your number 2. That's going to be a very, very iffy situation. Team score here, 5.71. The Helmets they didn't have a Twitter page, right? No Twitter here.
No.
Did they? Okay. 5.71. The Helmet Stickers QB1, Andy Dalton on the roster, and the We Get It, You Have Kelsey sticker for the top-rated tight end position. Number 5, Noah Jenkins. Noah Jenkins from the Creams division. Number 2 in the Creams division. They have the number 4 roster. I think we're definitely taking a step up in franchise quality here, Derek. This team is number 4 in both total and starter redraft value. Again, another prime age team. They actually lose a dynasty slot. They go to number 5 in dynasty value, thanks to Derrick Henry and Chase Edmonds. Both of those guys lose some dynasty value. And on top of that, number 10 in future draft capital. No 2022 first, no 2023 first or second. So this is definitely a franchise that is kind of what they are for the foreseeable future. What that is a running back and wide receiver cores that are absolutely ready to go. They are number 3 in running back value, and they're number 4 in wide receiver value. I mean, with Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor and Chase Edmonds, Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, those are 6 guys who are ready to compete for a fantasy title.
Well, I would say that Michael Thomas is definitely the most important player on this team.
Yeah, wide receiver 9 right now. He was wide receiver 1 last year when we were doing these shows, and now he's fallen to number 9 after that non-season he had. I mean, started 7 games. Yeah,
and that's he's going to have another problem this year, and that's the quarterback. I don't know how much confidence Jameis Winston gathered from people after showing his workout video on social media outlets, I believe yesterday, and it looked crazy.
everything Winston does, he really needs like a social media full-time social media person, I think.
Like, what was that guy doing?
Someone from this league should do that. Someone from this league should be Jameis Winston's social media expert.
For sure. You know all these quarterbacks have them now. I mean, if they're all stealing Brady's gimmick of putting like almost every like top 15 quarterback now does the initials with the number thing. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, guy. Like Jared Goff does it. Like, get out of here, man.
I will say, even if the running backs and wide receivers do hit and everything is running on all cylinders here. Quarterback and tight end leave a bit to be desired. Ryan Tannehill, it's a number 11 quarterback situation and the number 10 tight end situation. So weaknesses at the top and the bottom there could sort of submarine the overall team. Anything else you want to get to here, Derek? Otherwise, it's just, it is what it is. It's the number 4 roster. I feel like they're a good team. I don't consider them a contender right now because of quarterback and tight end.
Taylor Heineke, deep sleeper.
There you go. 6.2 is the team score. Helmet stickers, I have no home. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, all either above the 80th percentile or below the 20th percentile. In this case, wide receiver, running back, both above the 80th percentile in league value. Quarterback and tight end, and the bottom 20%. Number 4? Are we at number 4? Number 4, Palestinian Big Beans, which somehow are not in the Beans division, but in the Buicks division. Don't know how that happened. A little clerical error, I suppose. Number 2 roster, Derek. This is one of those contender teams. Number 2 in both total and starter redraft value. A prime age team. However, one of the reasons they're ranked number 4 in the countdown, the age that they do have on the roster comes largely at running back right now, where Ezekiel Elliott and Mike Davis and David Johnson all lose Dynasty value. So this team falls from number 2 in total redraft value all the way to number 4 in the total Dynasty value. A good team last year as well, 8-5, 117 points per game. So you would expect them to be absolutely in the mix again. It's a title or bust franchise. I mean, that's exactly what they are. And then, of course, after going 8-5, they added a bunch of these guys. This team had a lot of player movement like some of the teams we've seen. This is another one that did. So they added Ezekiel Elliott. They added Cooper Kupp. They added Amari Cooper. That's, not to mention like David Johnson, like quieter deals with like David Johnson and Leonard Fournette, who they added as well. Yeah, those are all moves that say we can win a title.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. And then you look towards the future with a potential Jackson Burrow 1-2 in a super flex. That's very strong, potentially. With the receivers, Diggs and Cooper and Kupp, you have to like that. I think Cooper is a little undervalued now. He's starting to trend that way.
Yeah, he's actually trending up. When we were doing shows earlier this month, he was like wide receiver 16, 17. Now he's up to wide receiver 14. People are catching on that his value is a little wonky.
Yeah, Dallas is going to have to throw the ball a lot because Dallas's defense still stinks.
Yep. Christian McCaffrey staying healthy is, do we even need to say it? If he's not healthy, then
it's everything.
Yeah. That said, they did go 8-5 last year, and I assume, unless they traded for him mid-season after he was hurt last year, he was probably on the roster because we don't see him in a trade here. So, it just goes without saying that he's got to stay healthy. But that big dynasty fall-off, that's a little frightening. It's a little frightening, Derek.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh. I just clicked on the Twitter account.
Yeah, how's that doing?
As we get closer to the season starting, we here at the Beans are anticipating a roller coaster of a season. What trades will happen next? What new rivalries will form? Best of luck to all the teams, except the LeWillis. the LeWills, excuse me.
I guess that's their arch rival.
Yes, and then there is a picture, it's something anime, and the caption is "Hose Mad."
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But what you will love about this page is take a wild guess at who the profile pick is. Somebody on this roster. No. Close, though.
Oh, Stephon Diggs.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
we had a rant today on social media about hotels.
You did, or this team did?
No, Stephon Diggs did.
Oh, Stephon Diggs. All right. Well, that's fine. 6
points. Hotels make all this money and should have better, quality soap.
6.7 is the team score. The nervous laughter sticker starting Robert Tonyan. The two stickers we didn't mention so Robert Tonyan, it's a number 9 tight end group. That's not good, but we didn't really mention the running back ranking here. It's actually number 1. And we talked about Zeke being here, and they have Mike Davis and David Johnson and Christian McCaffrey, but that makes up the number 1 running back group in the league, which is the main reason that they are a title contender. And that gets you the running red light sticker. For the top-rated running back group. I've been swimming a lot, and all of a sudden I notice my fingers are peeling a little. Anyway, number 3, London Mounties. London Mounties from the Buicks division. This is actually the number 1 team from the Buicks division, Derek. I know you're excited about that. Mm-hmm. It's not the number 1 team because necessarily of the roster itself. They are number 5 in total and starter redraft value. What this team kind of has going for it is that they don't have any real weaknesses in any of the rankings. So they're number 5 in total redraft value. They're number 5 in starter redraft value. RML has them number 4. Dynasty value goes up to number 3. So they go from number 5 to number 3 in Dynasty value here. And the future draft capital, a solid, respectable number 5. Sort of killing them with consistency across all the metrics that we use to rank teams, which is an interesting notion because usually what we see is a team that's really good at something but bad at other things, and that sort of gets them up a little bit. This team is sort of the opposite. Everything's a little consistent. The question that naturally comes to my mind is, where do they top out? What's the ceiling for this franchise over the next couple of years?
Well, that's a reasonable question. And when you look at things, I think you have to be a little concerned in some areas. Wide receiver, I think wide receiver's in pretty good shape, at least at the top with Metcalf and Robinson and Lamb. So you have to feel good about that, especially in Lamb and Metcalf. I mean, you could be sitting on 2 top 10 receivers for years to come. Tight end needs to be fixed. Ingram's a bum.
I mean, Ingram is a good player when he's healthy. He's saddled with Daniel Jones, which is not ideal, and then
his hands,
right, and his hands and his injury situation, which is always a little murky. Although he was healthy he was playing games this last season, right? He played all 16 this last season, which is good.
Yeah, that's certainly a good step. To me, the big question is quarterback. I mean, obviously this year, if Rodgers comes back, you should be in good functional shape. You should be a contender. If not, Tua is not ready to carry your team.
Yeah, and the quarterback questions are both short-term and long-term because, when this does become super flex, I mean, will Rodgers even be in the league at that point? He's 38 now. This league turns to super flex. He's going to be 40. I'm not confident.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because even if everything's functioning, he doesn't seem to be a guy who, at least right now, wants to keep playing.
Well, he's got Jeopardy shows to host. He's got things going on.
Shailene Woodley.
Is that his new beau?
Yeah, the actress. Yeah. She's, you can always tell, like, I never want to be called old or like, the default, like, oh, you're old, you don't know what's going on. But Chris Russo, are you familiar with Chris Mad Dog Russo? You have to be.
No, I'm old. I don't know what's going on.
Stop. Come on. Sports talk radio host. You've heard of him. Anyways, he said he's never heard of Shailene Woodley. And
I've also never heard of Shailene Woodley, but that's fine.
Wow.
Is she a movie actress? I don't watch movies.
Yes, she's a movie actress and she's done TV shows too. That's so interesting.
What TV shows? I mean, good TV shows or the crappy stuff?
Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies.
I Big Little Lies I watched like in the background while my wife watched it. So 6.92 team score here.
That's not a good sign for her career, to be honest with
you. 6.92. Anything else you want to mention here? Twitter page?
The Twitter page is kind of light. London Mounties created new jerseys for their team, and it's like MS Paint shop job in red of Metcalf and Lockett, which is odd. He tweeted, "Can somebody please bring me my wings?" Which no one ever will when you tweet that and you have like 14 followers.
6.92. Okay, I get it. All aboard, starting Myles Gaskin. I sense a little hype train behind Myles Gaskin. right now, running back 22. He's already risen in value this preseason, so we'll keep an eye on that. Number 2, Birmingham Big Dogs from the Crops Division, number 1 in that Crops Division. Number 3 roster, number 3 in both total and starter redraft value. Another prime age team here, Derek, 26.8. I feel like have we even gotten to the youngest team?
I don't think
we
so.
Did. So that's kind of crazy that we haven't seen the youngest team yet. We see a lot of teams that are but we haven't seen a super old team either. It feels like all the teams are kind of in that like prime age situation.
Yeah. There are some teams I think that, have issues, as we've said, about kind of they're married to some older star players and in key spots, and I think that's kind of a concern. So we'll see over these next couple of teams if the composition's a little different.
This team does move up to number 2 in dynasty value, despite the fact that they lose raw dynasty value behind Julio Jones losing a bunch and Adam Thielen. I mean, the age at wide receiver with Julio Jones and Adam Thielen is a little distressing, although I will say they balance that out with other tremendous wide receivers like A.J. Brown and Chris Godwin and even Cortland Sutton, who I like still, even though coming off of that injury, we'll see how he responds. The wide receiver group as a whole, number 1 in the league. It's always a good place to be in Dynasty with the number 1 wide receiver group. And so that sort of alone makes this a really dangerous team. You throw in studs like Nick Chubb and Josh Allen and Mark Andrews, you can see why this is a title contender right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you take a look at things, I think certainly that wide receiving group can carry them. Chubb and Mixon have got to stay healthy, and you hope that Josh Allen. We haven't talked a lot about one of my big things, and that's regression with quarterbacks. And, Josh Allen, is he going to come back to the pack a little bit after such a strong year? I'm not anticipating a Mahomes-esque slide back.
Whoa. Okay.
What?
What a Mahomes-esque slide back? What does that even mean?
Mahomes had that big year, and then he came back to the pack a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he was still one of the best. All right. Anyway, Derek is threatened by Patrick Mahomes' greatness because Derek is, for some reason, a huge front runner who loves Tom Brady. So Mahomes is a threat to Brady. It's a whole thing. It's a whole.
You're using the wrong terms. I'm insulted by his. I'm not threatened. I'm insulted.
Okay.
That he's even being compared. Mm-hmm. The baby goat. Get out of here.
Another team
7-9 in about 3 years. 7-10, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. So Rashad Bateman going 1.06 is extremely ambitious, although I'm a big Rashad Bateman fan. I think that's the highest we've seen him go. I mean, even I'm thinking like we see more superflex, I think, than non-superflex. So the non-superflex he'd be more liable to go obviously higher, but I don't think even in those leagues we've seen him go 1.06. So that's really ambitious. I know there's a certain segment of the analytical community that's very high on Rashad Bateman, and oh, by the way, I am too. I like him quite a bit, but that's still I like getting him at a really nice value, and I'm not sure that's the best value for him. But yeah, anyway, that's sort of neither here nor there. The one thing I did want to say, they picked up Mac Jones at 3.01. Oddly important, Mac Jones, because when this league does turn to Superflex, Josh Allen needs a partner. I don't think it's going to be Taysom Hill. I really don't think it's going to be Drew Lock. So Mac Jones is probably the best hope.
Yeah, I would think so. New England is very high on him, and I don't know if you'll see him this year, but I think you'll definitely see him next season. I don't. Short of Cam Newton leading the Patriots to the playoffs and a somewhat decent run in the playoffs, I don't see Newton coming back next year. I think this will be Mac Jones's team, obviously, by the time you get to that point where it becomes Superflex.
I don't know when this trade happened, the Aaron Jones trade, but this is a brutal trade for this side. Aaron Jones and Darnell Mooney, they get back James Robinson and a 2021 first. I mean, if that trade happened before we knew Jones's free agency situation, I mean, if that trade happened before the NFL draft and we didn't know Robinson's Etienne problem, like that would, I guess, make some sense. But without those factors, if that happened after all that, then that's a brutal trade for this side. Really don't like that.
No question. That's a bad deal.
Especially for a team that's trying to compete for a title right now. That's no good.
I'll tell you some other bad deals here.
Okay.
Julian Edelman for Phillip Rivers? Huh?
That's a non-trade. Neither
Like,
of those
why?
guys are playing.
Like, what are you doing? Stop wasting. Just cut him. Stop wasting. Now, that could have happened before he retired, obviously, but you knew Phil Rivers was not coming back.
You're so bitter. 7.74 is the team score here. Helmet stickers. This is the RML approved sticker team. They get the team that the Rate Mod League staff is most high on compared to consensus. So, Derek, you and I like this team. I'm trying to see which one of us really likes this team. I like this team more than you do. I'm higher on this team. I'm a big, you know me. I like AJ Brown. I like Nick Chubb. I like Chris Godwin. So they have a bunch of my guys here. But we'll play this one. The Wind Beneath My Wings.
I would fly higher than an eagle.
Feel it, Derek. This is the top-rated wide receiver group in the league, as we mentioned. AJ Brown, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen, all projected starters. And Cortland Sutton as well. Everything. This wide receiver group is everything you could possibly want. Okay, number 1, Frankfurt Hot Wings. Ugh. Wings.
Oh, my God.
What are you doing?
I've made a mistake.
What does that mean?
I have made a mistake. So the NFL blocked. I mean, it doesn't matter now. The NFL has blocked.
Oh,
the
like
display
embedding the.
Yes.
Yeah, you can click on it. You can go to it, but it's I know.
Yes.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to waste time doing that. Creams division.
Come on, why are you like this?
Because
why do you refuse to help me?
Because sometimes when you look foolish, it makes me look better. So I'm cool with that. From the Creams division, number 1 in the Creams division, this is the number 1 roster, number 1 in total and starter redraft value. It's a young team, Derek. 25.2. In fact, youngest team in the league. 25.2. But again, you know, it's funny. The oldest team in the league was only 27.5, which is one of the youngest old teams that we've seen. And the youngest team in the league is 25.2, and that's one of the oldest young teams we've seen. So this is a very unusual league setup when it comes to age. Usually we see teams that are over 28 per starter. Some teams we see at 29 per starter. And then on the flip side, we see a lot of leagues where the youngest team is 24. We've seen teams at 23 something. So very compressed age-wise with this league, which is very interesting. But they gain dynasty value here with Jefferson and Lance. And the roster's really, really good. Every position is in the top 4. They're number 4 quarterback, number 3 at wide receiver, number 2. I'm sorry, I skipped running back. They're number 2 at running back and number 2 at tight end. Tough to find a real weakness here. And oh, by the way, number 4 at future draft capital as well with an extra 2023 first. Yeah, there's not much to quibble with this team. They did acquire some big names. Saquon Barkley, we saw the other side of that with Miles Sanders leaving. And they acquired Darren Waller for some future draft capital. I mean, they definitely spent some future draft capital in their trades, especially with Barkley and Waller. But that said, they still remain number 4 at future draft capital. So they used assets that they had in excess of.
Can you explain to me this Scott Miller deal?
I think it has more to do with the 2 seconds than Scott Miller. But yeah, I mean, they got 2 seconds for a first this year.
What?
Which was probably, I mean, they were 8-5 last year, so it was probably their pick and probably not a great pick.
Yeah, all right.
Although it still could have been enough to get a quarterback. They got Trey Lance at 2.01, but you could argue that taking Fields and Lance would have been nice.
Yeah, considering the other guys are Cousins and Fitzpatrick. I mean, look down the line.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to criticize this roster too much. They are in prime shape. 122 points per game last year. I think that's one of the highest, maybe the highest from last year. This team was obviously a contender last year and looks to me like a contender again.
Yes, and yes. I would concur. They definitely do look like a contender. Love the receiving core. The running backs, you know, Saquon, and even if Saquon isn't himself, this is still a pretty good group. If he is some form of himself by mid to end of the year, oh boy, this team could be really, really tough. And why do they have 9 tight ends? or how many ever tight ends they have.
They do have a lot of tight ends. Although it's hard to see who, I mean, I don't know if they needed Hunter Long at 4.03 or Donald Parham here, but, Knox has had some value, Troutman, Everett. Like, they're hard to drop, I guess, anyway. I don't know. Talk about Twitter. What's going on with Twitter?
Frankfurt Hot Wings bragging about how great they are. Over the last 3 years of Grubba, the Hot Wings are 35-9 in all regular season playoff and placing games, 5-1 in the playoffs, 2-0 in championship games. But here's my favorite line. We have a tradition of winning culture in Frankfurt, and we'll continue it into the 2021 season.
That sounds like some ridiculous line you'd hear from the Steelers.
Yeah, the standards is the standard. Craziness.
That's it. Very good team here. Number 1 in the countdown. 8.96 is the team score. The helmet stickers, We Are Young. They get the youngest projected starting lineup sticker, but we will play this one, the King sticker. For the top-rated team, they get the King sticker. Thank you again to Grubba5. I love the Twitter account. Seems like a really fun league, to be honest. Thanks again to Jonah for setting this all up. You can follow me on Twitter at RatesMyLeague. Derek, where can we follow you?
Derek Jones79 on Twitter. That's DEREK Jones79 on Twitter. By the way, Frankfurt Hot Wings has the best Twitter account.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Ranking Twitter accounts number 1 on Twitter. Also want to mention you can go to ratemyleague.com and click on the report tab and actually get a free league report for any league that you are in. Just put in the league ID and the report generator will do all the work. So that's kind of fun. Thanks again. Have a good season. Good luck. And stay on Twitter. That's fun. Bye.
See ya.
Hello and welcome to